It would ask just for two pieces of information from the banks of these folks, that amounts that come into their bank accounts and what amounts go out of their bank accounts.
$600 sitting in your bank account, the IRS could end up monitoring your spending. You've been asking us about this new regulation, a part of President Joe Biden's proposed tax reform that is raising questions about privacy. Let's verify. A THV11 Verify viewer wrote in asking, after seeing some banks posting on social media that the IRS is going to start making them report all deposits and withdrawals over $600, can you tell me if this is true? Our sources, the U.S. Department of Treasury, testimony from the IRS Commissioner, and Congressman Steve Womack. At the end of April, President Joe Biden announced the American Families Plan, included in the proposal, tax reform. Back on June 8th, in a testimony to the Senate Finance Committee, IRS Commissioner Charles Reddick lays out what would be included in the plan. You can see here, financial institutions would be responsible for reporting your withdrawals and deposits, breaking down physical cash, transactions with a foreign account, and transfers to and from another account with the same owner. Now, this would apply to all business and personal accounts with at least $600 in it. According to the testimony, the purpose of this plan would be to improve tax administration and provide the IRS with a blueprint to address various facets of the tax gap.
A Biden administration tax proposal would require banks to report data of transactions over $600 to the Internal Revenue Service, and they're calling the collection of information routine. Mirroring Joe Biden every step of the way, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen cited the enormous tax gap as the reason to invade the privacy of American families. The proposal's been slammed by Republicans, including Senator Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming, who addressed the secretary.
Are you aware of how unnecessary this regulatory burden is? Do you distrust the American people so much that you need to know when they bought a couch or a cow? Treating the American people like they are subjects of the government is unconscionable.
Welcome back. Well, the Internal Revenue Service reportedly looking to close the tax gap by getting more information from banks about you, their customers. IRS Commissioner Charles Reddick telling Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren if banks were to report basic information on withdrawals, deposits, and other data, it would help in recovering billions of dollars in lost revenue. Joining me right now is the Florida Bankers Association CEO, Alex Sanchez. Alex, it's great to have you this morning. I know that the FBA is concerned about this new development. Tell us where we are on this.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me on. Maria, let me just simply say, this will kill our community banks and hurt our regional banks in our country, who are the main providers of capital for small businesses. While community banks only have 20% of market share, they give 50% of small business loans in our entrepreneurial society to small businesses where half of Americans work. Having every American data sent to the IRS for every $600 withdrawal, deposit, moving in accounts. It's unbelievably ridiculous, Maria. There are more efficient ways to do this by the IRS. Senator Warren herself to the commissioner said we need to get high income tax evaders. Well, hire more auditors. There's many more efficient ways to do this than to have every American's data sent to the IRS for a $600 transaction. I hope moderate Democrats, Maria, come rule the day and tell the Biden administration this is totally unacceptable.
The Republican Party is not going to allow the IRS to spy on your banking accounts. On this single topic alone, I've gotten more emails and calls in the last 3 weeks than I have on any other item over the times I've been in the United States Senate. So here's what's going on. As a part of what the president is proposing with his reckless tax and spending bill, He wants to give $80 billion of additional money to the Internal Revenue Service. Janet Yellen wants to use that money, the Secretary of Treasury, to hire a whole new army of IRS agents. She has said she wants those agents to have access to your personal bank accounts, your checking accounts, to the point where she said that any check that you would write or any deposit you would make for anything above $600 would have to be reported to the IRS. Their goal, of course, is to squeeze more money out of hardworking taxpayers, and they want to use that money that they squeeze out of hardworking taxpayers to pay for their big government socialist agenda. Now, number one, this is an invasion of privacy of American citizens. And number two, it turns bankers and credit unions into de facto IRS agents, and they don't want any part of it either. This is the topic that came up repeatedly when I was at the grocery stores in Wyoming this past weekend. The IRS is the most powerful and truly unresponsive or unaccountable agency of government. And they have proven they're unable to keep tax records secure. Proven it. We are not going to allow Joe Biden to give the IRS more power. We want to stop this in its tracks. I want to be able to tell cowboys in Wyoming that if they make a payment on their pickup truck or buy a saddle for their horse, they're not going to have an IRS agent along for the ride.
I want to be very clear. What President Biden is proposing here is as close to policy from Communist China that we've seen in the United States. In oppressive regimes like Cuba and Communist China, we've come to expect a surveillance state where the government has access to every part of a person's life. Now, Joe Biden wants to bring that here to America. Let me explain what the Biden administration and Democrats in Washington are proposing. Democrats want to open your bank account to federal agents. Under Joe Biden's America, the federal government's authority would be vastly expanded so the IRS could get a look at any account over $600. The madness doesn't stop there. This new rule from Joe Biden would also require banks to report every transaction of $600 or more. And does anyone honestly think the federal government will keep your private information safe? Want to buy a bed? Here comes the federal government. Let's say you want to buy a new shotgun. Hunting season's coming up. Again, here comes the feds. How about giving money to your favorite charity, supporting a cause or a political candidate you care about, paying for child care, or paying for mental health counseling? Perhaps you're just selling off some old furniture and want to put your profits in a savings account. For every one of these transactions I've just described, the government is going to come take a look. Every American should be disgusted and furious by this insane overreach of the federal government. Think about the private, personal information the government would have access to. It's incredibly intrusive, and Joe Biden wants to make it nearly limitless. And again, does anyone honestly think the federal government will keep your private information safe? I know Florida families are angry. I've heard from more than 18,000 constituents over just the last 2 weeks about how disgusted they are with this plan. Biden wants to expand the surveillance state of the federal government to target every American family. 95% of American households have a bank account, and this policy will have impacts on every single one of those accounts. How can you possibly justify to the American people that the IRS should be snooping around in their bank, retirement, or investment accounts? There's only one explanation, and it's simply terrifying. The Democrats want to control how you spend your money. Democrats want to control your expenditures, your charitable and political giving, and your investments. The more power Democrats can grab from American families, the more control they think they'll get over each and every American. This all boils down to Joe Biden and the radical left bringing the American people under the thumb of his socialist tax and spend agenda. And after all, how else is he going to be able to squeeze every last penny out of Americans' families' bank accounts to pay for his socialist plans?
I don't think that Americans would support giving up their access to their own private financial information to the IRS or to any government agency. The information we got today in the ProPublica circumstance is just evidence of why Americans, I think, are going to be very concerned about giving the IRS direct access to their financial data.
Senator Tommy Tuberville doesn't like what President Biden is trying to do with your money. Yeah, the administration wants the Internal Revenue Service to monitor every transaction you make of $600 or more. That's a big change from the current $10,000 threshold. NBC 15's Ken McGrath is on the story and joins us with details. Ken?
Yeah, tonight, Senator Tuberville, he is not happy with the IRS.
Yes, that's the same agency with a long history of data security failures.
Tuberville is trying to block a Biden administration proposal allowing the IRS to mandate that banks, credit unions, and other financial service providers report each time one of their business or personal account customers makes a financial transaction of $600 or more, far lower than the current $10,000 threshold.
You got a rent payment over $600, planning to buy an airplane tickets over $600. How about a new hunting rifle, a wedding dress for your daughter? All of it, any transaction over $600 would be sent to the IRS under President Biden's plan.
Now, in a sharp pushback against the proposal, more than 40 trade associations, some of which represent entire industries or economic sectors, signed a letter to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, raising the alarm about the plan. The letter, which includes the support of several banking coalitions, calls on Congress to reject that requirement, saying that it violates customer privacy and would create an incredibly expensive and elaborate reporting requirement for the banks.
We're talking about going down to $600, which will require a whole lot more reporting and affect a whole lot more accounts and a whole lot more people.
Is designed to go after people they want to go after. It weaponizes an agency to persecute people that they want to persecute, because they can accuse anybody of anything that they want. I mean, it's really draconian. It's a draconian measure, and it's total overreach into people's privacy. And this is more of an authoritarian dictatorship than anything else. It's going to be a massive problem for the financial institutions. They're going to have to hire numerous thousands of people to do this. But, none of this is about a disease called COVID. It's about politics. It's about power. It's about ensuring that there's a plutocracy that takes over America.
This is an example that I think, along with maybe the vaccine mandate, where you're now forcing small businesses to do something when they finally got a rhythm, and businesses have protected their employees and their customers as well as anybody out there in that journey. You've got that nonsense going to be unfurled here soon, but it is an example of where at some point enough needs to be enough.
President and colleagues, the senator's proposal, in effect, would be a game-winning touchdown for wealthy tax cheats. IRS Commissioner Rettig, a Republican appointee, came before the Finance Committee earlier this year and said the total amount of taxes evaded each year could be as high as $1 trillion. Cheating by those at the very top is one of the major causes of that huge tax gap. A big reason why is that the automatic reporting and strict rules that apply to the typical hard-working taxpayer, nurses and firefighters, for example, they don't always apply to those at the top.
This is one of the most unprecedented examples of an invasion of privacy in the history of our country.
BNN.